All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick and Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media, back with another episode of the Patriots Daily podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, powered as always by our friends over at PrizePicks, as well as Omaha Steaks today, the best steaks in the world. We'll talk about those guys in a little bit. But first, Taylor, I feel like we haven't... What, you got something in there? Or...
I'll actually save it for when the ad is about to come up because I got replenished.
Okay, we got a tease. That's a good tease. We're teasing the meats here, fellas. It is the post-Patriots bye week edition here of Patriots Daily. We haven't done just the two of us show in a while. We had the crossover. We've had a couple interviews. So back to our relatively normal schedule here. It's a Wednesday, so we got a mailbag. Taylor asked for questions earlier. We will answer as many of those as possible at the end of the show. But first, we're going to talk about today's practice report down in Foxborough. Looking at the betting lines here, because the Patriots are actually underdogs in this one, which is a not necessarily a surprise, but a storyline that I feel like is going to be beefed up into something, just given the stakes of the game and what have you, which we're also going to talk about in a second here. And then we'll get into a little bit about how the Patriots can defend Josh Allen, because as we know, one of the most dynamic players, dynamic passers in the game, and it should be a tough test for sure. So everybody talked about that down in Foxborough today. Taylor was down there. He was at practice, and we do have a practice report here as well that we want to get to. So I'll quickly read it off before we get your thoughts. Terrell Jennings did not practice. Christian Barmore, Harold Landry, Vidarian Lowe were limited. And then Brendan Schooler, Kyrus Tonga, and Jared Wilson, full participants. So I'll let you dive into it a little bit, but off the top, Jared Wilson being a full participant, huge. And Vidarian Lowe being limited, a little scary, given the fact that he's had the bye week and no Will Campbell. But for starters here, I'll kick it to you now. What'd you make of today's injury report and what happened down in Foxborough today?
I mean, mostly positive, because Jared Wilson, we did see him practice a little bit earlier in the week. He was actually, when they were in the bubble, he was working with the starting offensive line. So it was pretty clear that he really was trending towards being back. Looks like that will be the case. And another kind of ripple effect of that would be we might be able to see more Ben Brown back as an eligible tight end. I really liked him in that role, and especially this weekend, if you want to continue to improve your ground game, I think that's going to be one of the keys to do that. So it'll be interesting to see if Ben Brown gets more of those kinds of opportunities to help out in the ground game. Vidarian Lowe is not great. If there's any pass rush, to kind of be banged up against, this is one of them. I mean, Greg Rousseau is a solid player. Let me see. Is Bosa? I haven't looked at the Bills injury report. How's Bosa doing right now?
It's a great question. I haven't taken a look.
I'll look right now.
Yeah.
Bosa is limited with the hamstring and wrist. Still, obviously a very good player, but not the best thing in the world. But the Bills' edge rushers aren't the most intimidating in the league. So hopefully, with the help of obviously the scheme and Drake May, that's not a horrible injury. And he and Ben Brown were run blocking pretty well last week, or when they were working together. So it'll be interesting to see how that works now that it's probably going to be Vidarian and Jared Wilson. Other injuries, Brendan Schooler being back, obviously huge, the All-Pro. So getting him back to boost the special teams. Harold Landry being limited with that knee, it's nothing new, but you're hoping that this is a game that I think Elijah Ponder, you want him on the field for, and you're hoping he continues to grow and makes a positive impact, but probably going to see more of him and Anthony Jennings with Harold Landry hurt. Harold Landry got hurt also against the Bills, actually. Remember when Williams played a lot of defensive end, and that was because there was no Harold Landry. So we'll see just what his participation looks like. And with no Terrell Jennings, puts the Patriots in a pretty tough spot for the RB3 role, because Dearness Johnson doesn't have any more practice squad elevations, and I think he was actually James Cook in practice. So, I mean, they'd either have to find some way to add him to the active roster if they wanted him to be that third running back, or they have to go somewhere else, because Craig Reynolds was placed on Reynolds was placed on practice squad injured reserve. That's tough, because I don't think I've ever said that phrase out loud before. But and then the corresponding move was activating Jay Sean Corbin to the practice squad from practice squad injured reserve. So maybe he factors into that mix, but I don't know how comfortable you'd be with someone who hasn't done a whole lot for you, period, being the third running back. So we'll see what happens, but that third running back spot will be one to monitor. And if anything, it seems most likely that if Terrell Jennings couldn't go either, you're thinking they want to run the ball a decent amount. So I don't know if you're comfortable going in the game with 2 running backs. It wouldn't be the first time they did it. But if anything, you'd think that they'd find some way to get Ernest Johnson onto the active roster.
Yeah, I feel like that's
the 53-man roster, sorry.
Yeah, right. That's the move there, I think. Good news is Ramondre is back full bill of health post-toe injury. He is not even listed as full, not limited or anything. He is full go here. That's promising. You obviously have Henderson as well, but you are going to want a third back in that rotation. I feel like, as you mentioned, getting Johnson on the 53-man active roster is probably the move there, heading towards
and kick return. We have to mention that as well because Terrell Jennings was on the field with Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams showed some flashes, but now who's going to be blocking for him or that second kick returner back there? Another thing to look out for.
Definitely. No, they have some work to do there for sure. All right. I do want to touch on this here. The Patriots are underdogs betting-wise against the Buffalo Bills this weekend. I would say that, in theory, looking at this game in a vacuum doesn't make a ton of sense because Patriots 11-2, Bills 9-4. The game is in Foxborough, and the Patriots won head-to-head in Buffalo earlier this season. So all signs point there to the Patriots, you would think, being the favorite in this game. Now, understanding that Buffalo has more experience, they've been here before. I guess that's the explainer. But when you look at this, should the Patriots really be considered the worst team here? And before I do that, I want to actually get to some quotes from Mike Vrabel and Drake May, because Vrabel talked about it earlier. We have that video, and then I wanted to read what Drake May had to say. But we'll go with Vrabel first.
Who are the people, Ben?
I guess the odds makers.
There you go. That's what they are. They're called odds makers, not people. There's a lot of people in Las Vegas. Like there's only a few of them that they trust to set the line.
So do you pay attention to that? I mean, did you notice that?
No. I mean, again, it gets brought to attention. I don't think that, it's every week you see, in this league that records really don't mean anything, and the point spreads and survivor pools get blown up every week and all that other stuff. So we're just trying to focus on our preparation here and getting back into it. Had a good day Monday. Excited about the meetings thus far today, and then, progress through the week.
I love the mention of the survivor pools there. That's a real ball.
I was like, all right, he knows ball.
Yeah, for sure. Drake May was asked about being a dog earlier today as well. He said that anytime you're a home underdog, it gives you something to play for, but we're not really worried about all the underdog and what the line is set at. It's us versus them regardless. When they put the ball down, it's going to be 0-0 for 60 minutes. We know we have to play a full game. So feels like they're internalizing it a bit, using it, maybe trying to use it as a little bit of a motivator, if you will, but not trying to get too deep into it. So, like I said before now, Patriots have a better record. Bills have been here before, but it's at home. So what do you make of all of it? Who do you think should, I guess, be considered the betting favorite? And what's your take on all this?
I just thought it was odd. And if I'm playing devil's advocate, the Patriots are missing 2 of their best linemen on each side of the ball. You don't have Milton Williams, who was a big factor last time. You don't have Will Campbell. But even still, I just don't really see where the Bills have a strong advantage outside of, I would say, right now their run game, I think, could give the Patriots more trouble than it did that first time around. But if you're looking at the Patriots offense, Christian Benford's a good player, but I don't look at that secondary and think, well, what are the Patriots going to do? They couldn't do a whole lot in week 5, and I think that was a game where the Patriots, for a lot of that game, could have played much better football than they did, because I think it's forgotten that first quarter was a bit of a slogfest. There wasn't a whole lot going on. Ramondre Stevenson fumbled, obviously. And as opportunistic as that defense is, they don't really have the star power where you at least kind of look at a certain North Star and think you need to make sure that guy doesn't wreck the game. If Joey Bosa plays, you do have to respect him. You need to make sure you're holding on to the football. I think that's true of this entire Bills defense. And in fairness, Shaq Thompson is playing some really good football for them, and they've just been hammered by injury on defense overall, but especially in the linebacking core. But I don't really see their run defense. I think the Bills' run defense isn't great, but it's not as bad as it was the first time these teams played. And I'd even say the Patriots' run game has shown better flashes than they did earlier. But if you did want to use that game as prior history, then maybe you say, all right, the Patriots probably can't run the game, or at best it's a wash. But Drake May is Drake May, the MVP candidate. So you would think that would give them an advantage there. And then when it comes to the defense, we'll talk about it. I think the Patriots have a lot of advantages. Other than, again, they're going to need to snap back to form in the run game. We've had weeks where they say, hey, it's not really the priority. We want to play man. We want to play light boxes. I understand that. Against a lot of teams, that makes sense because you'd rather just dare a team to run the ball. The Bills will gladly accept, and they also have an outstanding offensive line and one of the most explosive running backs in football. So that could make it competitive, but I think the Buffalo Bills pass game is going to be in for a long day. I don't think they have the receiving talent to really threaten this Patriots secondary. If they really get the tight ends involved and attack the spine of the defense, I could see the possibility of some more competition if things stay close. But I also think if they just decide we're going to throw to Dawson Knox, we're going to throw to Dalton Kincaid, maybe even get our running backs involved, like Ty Johnson is very good in that regard. If that happens, then you switch to more zone. You play, your quarter, so you're taking away the middle of the defense and forcing them to throw outside. Like, I just don't see it as the kind of matchup where the Bills, considering that if the Patriots are home, they should be 3-point favorites just off the bat. You're saying the Bills are really 4.5 points better than the Patriots? I just don't know where that comes from. And even speaking to Anthony Prohaska of Cover One, that was a really fun interview we're going to be dropping tomorrow. I know Bills fans are confident and they're excited. Obviously, you just get 2 big wins in the AFC North. But I don't even think. I would be curious to ask. I don't think I asked about the spread specifically, but I would be curious if Bills fans think it's fair because I just don't see where the Bills have a significant enough advantage that they should win by that many points. Maybe that's why I don't make the odds and the ends, and, I've never been very good at those things. But, yeah, I think the Patriots are pretty clearly the better team because it feels like, with respect to the Bills' run game, if you're talking about the real scary threats, kind of like Josh Allen, the run game, and the opportunism of their defense. But that's about it. Whereas the Patriots' pass defense has been solid. They were good against the Bills' offense earlier this year. And I think offensively they've got enough firepower to really – if the Patriots play their best game, they could really punch Buffalo in the mouth and get not a comfortable win, but at least be in a situation where it might take until the fourth quarter until you just have this Josh Allen surge where, oh my God, are they going to come back? And hopefully the Patriots squash it.
And that's where, I have a lot of thoughts on what this win means, what a win would mean, what a loss would mean. I want to touch on, that a little bit in a second, but just looking at it sort of from this Vegas odds maker, that first of all, that clip to Ben was so funny when he was like, what are those people called, Ben? They're odds people. And I liked that. He was like, almost like, you can say it, like that's what the spread is, that's what this is. Same with, talking about the lines and the survivor pool and stuff. Like he's not shying away from anything, which I thought was funny. But
everyone's in bed with everyone. It's fine. We're allowed to say it out loud.
That's what that felt like. But no, I look at, again, you mentioned it, so you kind of took the words out of my mouth, but like that 3-point home advantage you get, I look at this team and the circumstances around it. Patriots, 10 in a row off a bye. Bills, 2 in a row, looking like they're playing better football after that loss to Houston a couple weeks ago. More experience. Bills' backs are against the wall because they're still trying to fight for the division, where the Patriots, on the other hand, are at home. But I guess they have a little bit more wiggle room. However, they can also come and show exactly who they are on a big stage and win the division. That, to me, is an even matchup. So I think the Patriots should be 3-point favorites at that, right? Because that's what – so the flip, the 7-point swing there, if you think of – or I guess it's a 4 to 7-point swing. But regardless –
7-point swing?
That's too bad. I got to put my hands down when I talk.
You did it. I had to.
I know. But it does feel like, frankly, the odds makers don't have enough faith in this Patriots team, that they don't believe in them just yet. And frankly, it seems like maybe that 10-point think anyway, those who make the lines, that the 10-point win or the 10-game win streak and where this Patriots team is at, it feels like they might think they're a little bit fraudulent.
And I think that really is it. And that's understandable, I will say. From our perspective, sure. I think we've watched it closely enough to win. We've admitted that the defense, I think they could use another test. But this is a team they've already faced, which is why, for me, it is confusing because you cannot believe in them. And I think if they do sweep the Bills, that's where people will say, okay, they have arrived. This is a very real team because the Bills are the Bills, and the Bills are in a position where we'll talk about this, but if they win the game, it could shake up a lot of things in the AFC, and then the Patriots have their backs against the wall where they really do have to win out. And if the Bills, kind of turn it on, similar to what the Dolphins have done, then maybe something crazy happens that we don't really expect, because I feel like we assume the Patriots are going to win out, or at least maybe lose one more game, but probably do pretty well. But I mean, I'm not counting the Ravens out. As bad as they are, as un-Lamar as Lamar has looked, that's one that I don't think you can just assume you're going to win. I don't think that's fair, especially on the road. And the Dolphins, who knows? The Dolphins don't play well in Gillette.
They're playing well.
Play very well in Miami in different circumstances, of course, but they're fighting hard for their head coach. And I have very little respect for the Dolphins. I think the losses over the past few years have been so fluky, and I have a healthy respect, but not a whole lot. Right now, I'm saying, you know what? Okay, Miami. Like, I like the resilience showing. I can't remember the last time I've seen this from you. It's interesting. So this could shake things up and all of that, but I still I think that even if you don't believe the Patriots are legit, and if you think they're paper tigers or whatever, this is a rematch of a team that they played pretty damn well the first time, and they've only built momentum since then and had their best game. So I think it's odd. I'm very personally confused by it, but I guess we'll see. And further playing devil's advocate, let me try to give the Bills a little bit more of an edge. It does seem like they're getting healthy. No, it's okay. So let me look again at the Bills injury report, see who they're getting back. Dalton Kincaid, again, not insignificant, because that's a guy who I feel like if they really scheme for him more, maybe could have been more productive. Cole Bishop, a full participant, that's huge for them. But Terrell Bernard is limited. Spencer Brown, he's supposed to come back, so they should have their complement of tight ends. That's something I could understand you maybe think gives them a pretty significant edge. And also Josh Palmer was limited, and he's one of their better receivers. So I strongly disagree. And it's really mostly because I think that it's going to be tough for this Bills passing game to do a whole lot outside of Josh Allen making his magic. But you have Drake May on the other side. So I will give them the edge in this matchup until the Bills kind of boost up their supporting cast around Josh. But that being said, I do think this should be a close game just because of that number 17 on the other sideline.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that, ultimately it's a close game. I think that the 1 point swing, I guess, makes sense. I think it'll be tight as far as, I just did 6-7 again, where the final score lands. But I do think at the end of the day, it's a little, perhaps a fraudulent / disrespect thing. Not disrespect, but it feels like the odds makers think the Pats might be a little fraudy right now. So they have a chance to show what it means. And that's what I want to talk about next. Yeah, right. They can take advantage of it. 1-0 to win, what a loss would mean for this team. So we'll get to that in just a second. But first, I got to tell you guys about our friends over at PrizePicks. Because as you know, this episode and every episode of Patriots Daily is powered by PrizePicks. It's the holiday season, the best time of year for sports. We got bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, and more. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, and so much more, there is one place where it feels good to be right, and that is on PrizePicks. I've mentioned a couple times here now, but they do have a new feature on the PrizePicks app called Early Payouts. So if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the opportunity to cash out those winnings before the games even finishes. So don't wait. Sign up today on PrizePicks. Use code CLNS, and you will get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Yes.
How old are you, Mike? I don't know about you. I'm like about 6.
7-ish. I don't know. But
that was pure rage bait. I'm sorry, I had to.
No, that's okay. The best part about Randy's comment is that he doesn't have to watch if he doesn't want to. That's what I tell all the haters out there. Turn it off. You can stay, but what is this? Was there 6-7 in this chat? Yeah. So let's just let him hate. But we'll go like this. I'm 6-7 years old. At any rate, this is a big game for the Patriots, Taylor. And I think everybody knows that. Mike Vrabel was asked about it today. Drake May was asked about the magnitude surrounding it. There's a lot at stake. They can win a division for the first time since 2019. They can also buck the Bills from winning a 6th straight division title in the AFC. I know that's the same thing, but, both things matter. Both are different sort of storylines. And I'll say right off the bat, I think a loss is a little bit scary for this team. I know it's a tough opponent, but you are at home. You are sitting here at 11-2, and you do have an opportunity to win the division. Now, on the flip side, a loss puts you going on the road to Baltimore after winning 10 games in a row. You just had a bye. I don't know if it'll start to creep in the team, but the fodder, the talk around it will be, oh, they were frauds. They had the easy schedule. They took the bye week. They didn't fix their what they needed to fix, and they're still here, and they just lost to Buffalo. Now they got to go on the road, and things might get a little scary from here on out. So while, again, I'm going to use the term in a vacuum again, while just losing to the Bills should not necessarily be something to, freak out about, I think that given the circumstances where this team's at and kind of how the season has gone, it can get a little bit scarier if they do end up losing to Buffalo.
I'm honestly, when I think about it, I'm not going to be scared.
Okay.
I think that it would be scary if it was a team that was still looking for its identity, because I think late season losses, the downside is that sometimes you can have a bit of an identity crisis where you start to question, okay, like, are we who we thought we were? And, if you have a lot of young players, sometimes maybe that can get in their heads and that doubt starts to creep in. That just doesn't feel like what this team is. I think this is a team that they talk about it all the time. Mike Vrabel has wanted them to play to and establish an identity, and it's that they're physical. They play with great effort. They finish all the isms that I feel like Mike Vrabel has kind of thrown around, but they've been true. And I think that if they were to lose, it feels like something that would more light a fire and really just be kind of something that shifts the perspective. Okay, like, this is what we really need to take advantage of, because these guys do want to get better. And that has been something that they say and that you feel, where they do have a very close bond. They truly do play for each other. And we could talk about the locker room interactions till we're blue in the face. You see the product. It's not, I can't say there's not a lot of games where their backs weren't against the wall, because they have quite a few blowouts. But anytime their backs are against the wall, when's the last time we've really seen them flinch?
Pittsburgh, I guess.
Pittsburgh. And then the win streak happened. So I'm not saying they're going to be perfect or anything like that. And I'm sure there's going to be some bumps before we get to the end of the season. But I would not be worried if they lose this game. I think that it would understandably cause a bit of an uproar. But still, like, the Bills aren't a bad team. Do I think they should be favored in this? I do not. But it's still Josh Allen. I'm never going to be surprised if Josh Allen pulls out, not an upset in this case, but pulls out a win against a team that I think may have more talent than his. And again, I just trust what Mike Vrabel's culture has instilled in these players, their desire to not be what they used to be, where the guys who've already been here remember how it feels to lose and how it feels to lose in this stadium and in front of this fan base. That's already lit a fire under them, and I think we've seen that. I think the young guys are following the leads of the older players, and the veterans they brought in, a lot of them have playoff and championship experience, so I don't think they're necessarily even going to be guys where when the going gets tough, they kind of back down or don't rise to the occasion. I think if anything, once again, a loss in this game would only kind of reset the table for them in terms of, all right, just got to hone in even more than we have in other weeks and just make sure that we are on our P's and Q's, because the win streak was fun, but now it's getting towards the end of the season, and remember what this feels like and how you don't want to feel it again. So I would be worried about the seeding and all that, because it would kind of suck if you had an opportunity to host playoff games and you weren't able to. But we've talked about it so many times. I'm not afraid of any team in the AFC. There are some that would be very challenging based on how your roster is constructed, but there's no one that you can't beat, whether you're home or on the road. Even when this team has sucked, they've been road warriors.
They're 6-0 on the road.
Exactly. So yeah, I wouldn't overthink it if they lose this game. But the positive, if you win, is you get your hat and your T-shirt. Makes it even tougher on the Bills to try to get good seeding. There's a lot of positives to be gained here. And obviously, Drake May's MVP case, Mike Vrabel Coach of the Year, all those things gain a lot of positive momentum. So a lot of great things if you're able to pull this one out. But don't freak out if they lose this game, because I think they've shown time and again, while they're missing some pieces, there are areas and positions where they could definitely use more talent going down the road. I think the way this team plays football will keep them in games with pretty much anyone as long as they don't beat themselves.
Yeah, I think a win, obviously, that sounds stupid. A win helps them more than a loss. I'm trying to explain that a little bit better. Where I understand what you're saying with the loss, that it, might light a fire, and it might not end up just being their sinking ship, if you will. I do think it will tell you a lot about where this team is at, veteran wise, leadership wise, and what will happen when the going gets tough. Because the going hasn't got tough. It hasn't been tough, like we said, since that Pittsburgh game. Really, I mean, they've had a couple hiccups, if you will, in games they could have won by even more. But I mean, they haven't lost it in forever here. So when push comes to shove, it's going to show you, okay, can they rally? Can the veterans get it back on track, if you will? Or is this a young team that, when they do hit a little bit of adversity, might kind of falter a little bit? I'm not expecting that to happen, but I think if anything, the good that can come out of it is it shows you what you have and what you don't have heading into next season. Now, the win is exactly what you said. You win the division, you earn a home playoff game. And it, the flip side to that is you talked about, having to play teams or go on the road, whatever. Like, I think they can beat anybody. I'm with you there. Going to Denver gets tough. Going to Houston even might get tough just because that defense is nasty. I don't think it's going to happen. Right. It's terrifying. But that's the scary thing, is that Houston defense right now, and the Denver defense as well. So, no, I think that good can come out of both, but I do think, admittedly, it can get a little scary. We've used that word a couple times now. If they do end up losing, because you don't know the direction they'll go in. I have confidence that they'll use it as a positive, but you just don't know until it happens. But you do need to also learn how to lose in the NFL, as far as you can't let it derail you. Every team is an NFL team in this business. So like, if you lose, you can't let it completely knock your season off the track. So,
although I like learning from wins better.
No, I'm with you, but there is something to the, okay, they lost, they almost, like, it's like they got it out of the way type thing, where, now they know that they can come back from it and learn from it. But at the end of the day, you would still want to go into the postseason having the 15-2 record that you most certainly predicted before this season, or 13-4. But all right, one more thing we want to hit on before we get to the mailbag is how the Patriots will defend Josh Allen in this one, because as we know, Allen is one of, if not the best quarterback in football right now. You asked Mike Vrabel about it today and kind of how they might go about it, mentioning how they've used 5-man protections at the highest in the league. Vrabel talked about it, and I thought this was another good quote from him today, how you can't only contain him and just let him do that, because then he's just going to make a play throwing the football. Like, he can do pretty much everything. So, in your opinion, from what you think, from how they did, or how they tried to defend him in week 5 versus where things are at right now, what is the Patriots' best plan of attack for trying to stop Josh Allen on Sunday afternoon?
Well, there were a couple things he mentioned that really stood out to me. One was, he said the rush needs to be coordinated and relentless. I completely agree, because another thing that Vrabel mentioned was, if you decide not to blitz Josh, he's just going to sit back in the pocket and pick you apart. He's going to do a thing where he points, and then he's just going to work his way and maneuver until somebody finally does get open, and then he's going to hit him. And he's just as dangerous inside the pocket as he is outside, when asked basically, how important is it to keep him contained? And that's what happened when I saw the tape. When I was looking through and seeing, okay, what were the Bills able to do well, and how can the Patriots stop them? All of Josh Allen's explosive passes, so every pass where he gained 20 or more yards, he had at least 3.5 seconds to throw. I think there were a couple where he had 4 seconds. A lot of those were play action, but there were also some times where they would rush 3 and then have 2 guys drop or have a spy. And Josh is just too good at, one, working around all that traffic where Barmore gets penetration, but whether it's just a subtle move or whether it's just, Josh Allen being Josh Allen, he's going to find a way to get around it, and he's very hard to bring down, period. So what I think the strategy needs to be this time around is more blitzes. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean cover 0 where you got, birds on a fence. It's been very hit or miss for the Patriots. There have been some hits, like on the 4th downs in their past 2 games. They've gotten stops. Then you also have plays where Jalen Hawkins takes a bad angle and it's a touchdown, or Craig Woodson or Jalen Hawkins get matched up on a really fast wide receiver. So some 0, not a lot, but I'm really focused on more 5-man rushes. And the reason is not even so much to get free rushers or to create confusion, although when you do rush 5, it helps to create confusion on line games where you have 2 guys going one way, another looping around. That's really tough for offensive linemen to pick up. But really, I need them to constrict gaps. and not give Allen extra escape lanes, because that's really what worries me, is that you can rush 4, but there's 6 gaps. So a lot of the time you're giving him 2 options to do whatever he wants with. That's what really worries me. And the only time you sacked him last time was on a blitz where it was really well coordinated. You had a stunt inside. Allen kind of thought about getting out, but you blitz Jalen Hawkins. That keeps him from breaking the pocket, and then he has nowhere to go. So I think, especially with their receiving core and the fact that you need to load the box anyway to defend James Cook, because they don't have the passing weapons, I think, where you really need to live in a too high world, unless, again, you want to really take away that middle of the field. I think you're fine stacking the box. I think you're fine playing man coverage against these guys. I want the Patriots to try to force Allen to throw fast, especially faster than he did last time. He had, I think it was like a top 5 game frame in terms of his average time to throw. And they blitzed him like 10% of the time, which was the lowest he's seen all season or something like that. Next closest was 15%. I just don't think that conservative approach, especially the way that we come to know this defense and their aggressiveness, I just can't see 2 times in a row you take a more conservative approach and decide to say, hey, we're just going to, let Allen sit there and not let him run. I think you do need to be the aggressors. Not always, but I do think you need to pick your spot. So the biggest thing for me, continue to play a lot of man coverage. They did that last time. It was one of the games where they played one of their highest man rates, around like 40-45%. That's the game plan. Force Josh Allen's receivers to beat him, and do not give him space in the pocket. 4 rushers for this guy simply is not going to cut it. And also, interested to see how they use Elijah Ponder this time around, especially considering how athletic he is, if they use him as a spy. And we saw Brendan Schooler actually at safety a couple of times. So maybe just to handle that athleticism as a spy or something, we see him there as well. But there's no one plan, and Vrabel made that very clear. He's an elite dual threat, maybe the best dual threat the game has ever seen. So, it's not going to be perfect, but I think in those crucial moments, I would much prefer they try to bring the rush and force quick throws and decisions than just, all right, we're going to, drop the edges and blitz one guy inside. That is not going to cut it. Maybe if you're later in the game and you have a comfortable lead, sure, but at least early in the game, get in his head, and then as the game progresses, maybe see if he starts to unwind a little bit, and then you can just kind of try to create confusion between him and his offensive line, which has been a sneaky weakness for them in terms of communication up front.
Yeah, it'll be I'm very interested to see how they attack and how differently they do things versus week 5, because again, they held them to X amount of points in week 5. It was clear they were able to contain Allen for the most part. We know they tied the game, and then Drake goes down and ends up leading into the game-winning field goal. But it felt like for the most part they kept him relatively in check, or granted, they did it enough to at least get a win. But I'm with you as far as get him off his spot fast, and then contain him as well. Like I'm with you as far as don't, what's the saying? Birds on a
fence.
Birds on a fence. Yeah. Like don't sit there and just, wait for him, because he's going to dice you up. He's going to make you pay that way. But again, it'll be interesting, because it's hard to expect a defense to stop Josh Allen once in a season, never mind, twice, just given how dynamic of a player he is. And you can do your best. You can have your best game plan. And at the end of the day, he may still dice you up. He may just have a Josh Allen day, but we'll see. It should be fun it should be a good chess match, because given these 2 teams' stance in the AFC East and then in the conference as well. So, all right, let's hit an ad break here. Talk about our friends at Omaha Steaks. I'll let you talk about the steaks after we do the ad read here, and then we will get into some mailbag questions to wrap up the show. But first, here's our read about, and where's our video? Because we got to show you guys the steaks. There's the steaks. There's the steaks. There's the meats. There's the burgers. Holiday hosting to unforgettable gifts. Omaha Steaks delivers the best steak experience. Gift your family and friends these USDA certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, cozy and convenient comfort meals, and so much more. And right now, they have their Sizzle All the Way sale ongoing, meaning you can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, for our listeners right now, you get an extra $35 off the top with promo code Patriots at checkout. Omaha makes the holiday season that much easier. And if you place your orders by 6 p.m., your order will ship on the same exact day. It is the perfect time to save on these delicious gifts and holiday hosting favorites. So visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off their site-wide Sizzle All the Way sale right now. And for our listeners, add an extra $35 off the top using promo code Patriots at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. Again, that's omahasteaks.com. Use code Patriots. All right, let's hear it. What do you got? What steak store do you have?
Got another package from Omaha.
Nice.
I wasn't expecting it. Christmas came early for ya boy. They gave us chicken breast, which we actually just used to make lemon chicken and orzo. Fire. Nice. Liz really killed that one. We also got burgers. We got hot dogs, caramel apple tarts, which are the things I said that I kind of fiended on and did not give Liz much of a chance to try last time. So now she gets to know what heaven tastes like. And also scalloped potatoes. That was not in the box last time. I am very excited to try those. So thank you sincerely so much to our friends at Omaha Steaks. They treat us very well, and I cannot wait to devour everything they've given. I think there's one more thing in my freezer that I still haven't eaten yet because we've been saving it for a special occasion. That's how good they are. Like, this isn't, sometimes I've gotten packages in the past where I kind of just go through it, and it's not bad, it's good, but genuinely there's like a guilt I feel of like, but what if all the Omaha is gone? But then again, I could just buy more. I could just buy more and support our friends. But yeah, thank you so much, Omaha. You are the best. And sincerely, if you are a lover of meats or caramelized apple tarts or scalloped potatoes, make sure to check them out. They are fantastic. And use that promo code.
Yep, use that code Patriots at checkout. Again, I'll give them one more shout here. It's their Sizzle All the Way sale, and it's 50% off site-wide. Add an extra $35 off the top with code Patriots at checkout. That's a deal. Like,
I might need to load up again,
to
be honest. I'm thinking,
I know it's an ad read and it's like, we got to give them love, but no, this is real. That is great pricing for some high quality meat. So shout out Omaha. They're the best.
We appreciate
them as always.
So I'm going to ask for Christmas, a meat freezer for my Omaha stuff.
There you go. That's perfect. All right, let's start the mailbag here. We'll answer a couple before we get out here. We can also leave some for the rest of the week as well to kind of add on the top here. But first and foremost, let's flip the script from what we just talked about. How do you see the Bills approaching Drake May this game? And vice versa, I guess, same side of the ball. But how do you see McDaniels on the offense approaching the Bills defense?
I don't see the Bills changing their plan too much. I think maybe we see more cover zero, maybe more three-man rushes. I just think those more unconventional pass rush plans to see how Drake responds, because zero, I've talked about this before. I'm still uneasy about their consistency against it. I think he's been much better against three-man rushes. It was like one or two games where it felt like it really threw him off, and he mentioned that was something that he wanted to improve on. Haven't really seen him look skittish or hesitant against those since. But still, I do think that disguising, switching up the number of rushers you're sending will be key. But also at the end of the day, playing man coverage. Whenever you play these quarterbacks that are very hard to scheme against, just play man and force the receivers to beat them the same way you want to against Josh Allen. For Josh McDaniels, runs outside. I think he's going to try to establish the run again in this game. We'll see how much success they have. They didn't have a whole lot of success last time. And I think you try to test Trey White. I think especially so apparently they switched drives, Maxwell Harrison and Trey White. They might shadow Stephon Diggs with Christian Benford. I think that'd be a dumb move, to be honest, because when you look at how Diggs had most of his success, it was against zone. I don't think Diggs is the kind of obviously he popped off against the Bills, but those were scramble drills. One was against Christian Benford when he had tight coverage. So I think doing that would be a waste of resources. But if they want to do that, then you just throw everywhere else. Demario Douglas could have himself a game. Matt Collins, Kyle Williams, Kayshon Boutte. I just think there's so many weapons that it's going to be tough for these Bills defenders to really keep them in check. So I'd like to see the Patriots test them early and often. And if they want to keep a lid on it and they don't let you go deep as often as you want, probably going to mean the intermediate part of the field is open, or you can have some easy checkdowns. So I don't want to say the menu's open, but I think as long as, again, the Patriots don't shoot themselves in the foot, I don't see how the Bills' defense really stops them on a consistent basis, especially given how banged up they are. At least the pass game. The run game we'll see, but I think the pass game should have success.
I'm glad you just mentioned the run game here, because that kind of dovetails into this next question. 2 questions in a row, Taylor, from JP Saucy Guy. How would you correct the offensive line when it comes to the run game? Is it just better overall execution? Do you have to ask guys to just play better? Or do you think they should potentially change something up as far as the blocking or run schemes go?
I think that, one, I'd like to see more jumbo sets. We mentioned Ben Brown really looked good in that role before, and When we spoke to David Andrews, one thing that he mentioned was, as much as he loves the tight ends, that's been a reason the run game has struggled. And I agree, because they want to be a downhill team. They want to run duo, and not just duo inside, which is where a lot of people think it goes. The best duo runs tend to be bounced outside because everybody fills the box and it creates some room to the perimeter. But it's hard to do that when the edge is being caved in while you're getting the handoff. So I'd like to see more jumbo personnel. I'd like to see more outside zone. The Patriots are actually one of the most efficient teams in the NFL on outside zone runs. Part of that is because they don't run it very often, but when they do, they have a lot of success. So I'd like to see them, go sideways to sideways a bit. I also think it helps the running backs, because rather than running right into the teeth of the defense, you're able to kind of get them moving laterally. That can make it a little bit easier to slip tackles and get yards after contact. And just when you do dial up those gap runs, stay behind Morgan Moses and Mike Nwenu. Every once in a while behind Vidarian Lowe and Jared Wilson to keep the defense honest, fine, but your money is being made off tackle behind Morgan Moses. That is the biggest improvement you need to make. I think other than that, it's just a personnel issue where it's kind of a weird mismatch. Pass pro-wise, they work together pretty well. But in the run game, like, you've got undersized guys, you've got really, really big guys, and it's hard to find that real middle ground for their scheme where it feels like there's anything they do consistently well, and I think that's a big reason why, on top of them being just a new-look unit. But if you want to talk about schematic improvements, more packages with extra offensive linemen, more outside zone to get defenses moving sideline to sideline, and gap runs behind specifically Morgan Moses and Mike Nwenu, but really off tackle is where they've had the most success. I think they've averaged like 7 yards or something like that off the right tackle, at least in recent weeks, which is obviously insane. And even if you take away the Tampa Bay game, it's like 5 or something like that. So there are little glimmers of hope in there, but there's also a lot, especially on the interior, there's a lot of spots where you don't have a lot of confidence. So get outside.
Let me ask you if just based on, today's injury report and what you saw down there, do you think Jared Wilson's back this week? And do you have confidence in him and Vidarian Lowe on that left side in the run game on Sunday?
So that, I think, is going to be interesting, because I think Ben Brown was a big reason that the runs to that side did have success. Wasn't perfect, but I've spoken about it before. I think Ben is a better run blocker than Jared. But I do think it looked like Jared was good to go. That dude's got a healing factor. I still have to make the joke with him about, like, dude, how the hell do you keep suffering what looked like horrible, horrible injuries? Right. And you're fine. Also, Will Campbell was walking around pretty well in the locker room. He ditched his leg brace. I don't know if he if he has a sleeve, he puts it back on. I don't know.
Sure.
Sometimes at one point they won't have it and they will others. But you also see times where a guy's in a brace and that thing never comes off. It looks like Will Campbell. I don't know where he's his recovery. I don't want to assume anything like that. Be very, very clear, but definitely impressive that the guy on injured reserve is walking around himself without that big chunky brace he did have at one point, I believe, last week. So the young offensive linemen look like they're trending in the right direction, but we shall see.
Love it. All right, let's keep it rolling offensively. Jakob Johnson was released by the Texans this week. What do you think?
Don't give me hope.
Why do you think we have not added a better fullback or fullback-like type over the last couple of weeks? And George Smith adds, Westover has left a lot to be desired and feels like they keep forcing it. Jakob Johnson, ? So where are you at on the fullback position with the Patriots right now?
I think they haven't signed a better fullback because fullbacks are almost completely extinct. And if there's a good one floating around, a team is going to pick him up. The fact that Jakob has been available and it doesn't seem like they've been interested tells me quite a bit. He's also bounced around the practice squad on Houston. So I talked to him at the Super Bowl. I inquired. I was like, hey, man, the Patriots need a fullback. This is before Brock Lampy, of course. But yeah, they don't have another fullback because you don't find fullbacks very often. And Jack Westover deserves credit for what he's done, even if he isn't their typical style of fullback. It's a valiant effort for someone who wasn't expected to fill this role necessarily in the summer, or at least not to this clip. So I'm off on Jakob Johnson, unfortunately. I tried to keep the dream alive, but now I just feel like I'm delusional and I'm gaslighting myself. So you're going to have to just continue to hope that Westover can improve and maybe that Tonga gets healthy. So in the playoffs, he can mix in for a few packages as well.
Unfortunately, I think I'm with you on, the Jakob Johnson dream being dead. However, I do think they need more from that, blocking, position from the fullback. You hope that, again, Tonga can get healthy here and give them a little bit more, but you want to be able to, when when push comes to shove, you need 2-3 yards, be able to ground and pound it out down there. And right now it feels like that is to be desired. All right, 2 more here before we close out. Generic one from Mr. Ed315. In your estimation, is this current Patriots roster complete? And if not, what is missing from this team?
Almost no roster is ever complete. But I'm not even condescending. That's just
Sure.
If it is, you're talking about a Hall of Fame team. And even on the Hall of Fame teams, I don't know that there wasn't a single area that they were looking to improve. For this team, I think, and this isn't in order of how much they need them. These are just things off the dome. I think you need a ground and pound running back, like someone who does not go backwards and always goes forwards. I think that kind of power back is something this offense is missing. I would say fullback, but you have Brock Lampy, so you can see what you have in him. I like just a real freak of nature wide receiver. I don't think Drake needs one, but I also think that you're making his job infinitely easier. There was also a comment that Mike Vrabel had when asked about the Patriots spreading the ball around. And he said, that's how it is this season. It's not always going to be like this. But this year, da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, interesting. That sounds like someone who used to have a guy named A.J. Brown on his roster. I'm not saying the Patriots getting A.J. Brown or anything, but, I do think they need that freak athlete at wide receiver. You do need youth at right tackle. I think that, right guard, one who's played better, but I don't think he's lived up to his contract. So honestly, long-term, I think everything but left tackle and either left guard or center, depending on where Jared Wilson plays, is going to be up there. And really what would be at the top of the list is edge rusher. I think that is the thing they need.
Yeah.
Because as good as the interior's been, the edges have been inconsistent. Well, I think Caleb for the most of the season has played pretty well. Obviously, Harold Landry's been slowed by injury. I cannot imagine how much scarier they'd be if they had a dude where you can chip him and it just doesn't really work because he's so juiced up and talented. So off the top of my head, those are some big ones. I'd also love to see them get a Jamie Collins style linebacker opposite Robert Spillane, who can maybe fill that role at some point, who can just fill a ton of different roles for you and fly around the field. That's another thing I feel like they're really missing, even though Christian Ellis is, kind of in that ballpark.
If you're watching and noticing the question keep popping up and down on the screen, there's a new feature on StreamYard apparently that it adds a 10-second timer to each question. So I'm fixing that so that's off of all of these. So that's why I was going back. I don't know, but that's the general thing. So, but now that's off. I'm with you. I think it's edge rusher. They need to get after passers more. That's what's going to put this team over the top. I think everything else, wide receiver, maybe eventually, but they've been fine right now. And I think the one thing missing to get them over the hump from this year into next year is definitely that edge rusher position. All right, last one before we get out of here. Taylor, would you be okay with a one and done in the playoffs? Is that still a success? It's still a successful season, but what would a one and done given? Let's theorize that they get the 1 seed, they get a bye, and then X team comes in and beats them in the first round of Gillette. What does that? How does that make you feel?
I think it'd be really disappointing if they lost at home in the first round for obvious reasons. But, bro, you're playing with house money. Even Garrett Bradbury today was like, I think the easy answer. He was asked if this team, I think, is maturing or, grew faster than he expected. He said the obvious answer is yes.
Yeah.
If he's saying that, I think that's pretty telling. And even the guys inside were like, damn, we kind of are cooking right now. And I don't think anybody signed on thinking they were going to be the team, one of the teams with the best records in the entire NFL or tied for the best record in the NFL. So it'd be disappointing, but you weren't supposed to be here in the first place. And I've never covered a playoff game. So I'm not going to be mad. So I'd be fine with it as long as the team afterwards, it feels like they have a good grasp of why they lost, where they need to improve, and then attack it in the offseason. So I just don't see how you can be reasonably angry, disappointed, upset, sure. But this is a team that shouldn't have done what it's done so far this season. And it would be a treat to see them on a playoff stage for the first time since 2021 when they got their brakes beaten off. Also, if that happens, if you get blown out in that kind of fashion, that's the exception where it's like, yeah, I'm sad. Or not me, I'm fine. But if someone's like, yeah, I'm that's valid because I think that would come out of nowhere unless obviously they go on some kind of skid. But outside of a blowout, I think you should just be happy that they've gotten as far as they would. Yeah,
I think that the answer is it depends how it happens, because if they finish this win streak right now and they win out the regular season and they end up 15-2, and then they sit there and host a playoff game, and all of a sudden the script flips and they look like they have no business being there, then that's a concern because this team doesn't know how to win on the big stage yet. And those now, granted, this Sunday will be a big stage, so you can argue that. But there is a way where it can be like, well, shit, these Patriots aren't who we thought they were. Because if it looks like they had all the answers all season, and then the playoffs come around and they shit the bed, then that's not a good look, and that makes you question everything going into the next year. Highly unlikely that that's the case. So we can cross that bridge when we get there. But I think a one and done, depending on who it's against and, the circumstances and how it goes, this team was not supposed to be here. We were not supposed to be sitting here saying that they're playing for the AFC East title against Buffalo in week 15. Like that, just none of this shit was supposed to happen. So on one hand, you are 100% playing with house money, but also when you do have the house money, you do want to be able to leverage it into something even bigger than just a playoff berth and then, we'll go on to next year, right? Like you have it.
Don't get dragged out by security because you puked on the poker table.
There you go. Yeah, right. Go get a full house and draw some shit, right? Like, I don't know, make something happen where, okay, you make a run at the AFC East title or the AFC title rather, and shit, maybe you do end up in San Francisco and play in a Super Bowl. Like, you have 15 wins or however many wins it's going to be in your pocket. Like, use that to your advantage and, make it look a little bit respectable heading into 2026. But for now, it's like
Dead on black.
Yeah, bingo. So house money, but at the end of the day, make it into more than it's been so far. And you shouldn't have a problem here. All right, that's going to do it here for our Wednesday episode of Patriots Daily. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in, rating, reviewing, and subscribing to the Patriots Press Pass channel. We got a bunch more content here for you all coming. So make sure you check it out. And again, subscribe to Patriots Press Pass. We'll be back on Patriots Daily tomorrow in some form or fashion. Whatever it will be, we will definitely have a drop of the Cody Alexander interview that Taylor conducted. So make sure you check that.
That's going to be Anthony Prohaska, but Cody Alexander is already out, so you can check that out in the videos tab.
My wires are crossed here. Cody Alexander is out. Anthony Prohaska is coming. So make sure you check that out. And we'll be back at some point as well throughout the rest of the week. So keep it here. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will see you very soon. Where's my outro? There it is. Peace out, everyone. Bye.